Hi guys, so Edwin Poots, the leader of the DUP in Northern Ireland, was recently interviewed on the Andrew Marr show, where he was asked questions about the Northern Ireland Protocol. He was asked what's his alternative to the Northern Ireland Protocol, and he provided nothing. Although he did attack the protocol and suggest that the protocol itself is the reason why we're seeing violence on the streets of Northern Ireland, not because of Brexit, which is a lie. Now, the European Union responded to this. You're going to hear from the EU's ambassador to the United Kingdom, who was interviewed recently on the Today programme. So let's hear what he had to say.
And another one is the Northern Ireland Protocol, which has been causing such controversy in Northern Ireland. You will know that the new DUP leader, Edwin Poots, has said that he's accused the EU of doing demonstrable harm to every individual in Northern Ireland because the EU protocol is having a devastating impact.
So I just want to clarify something. The DUP are trying to speak for all people in Northern Ireland. The DUP do not represent a majority in Northern Ireland. They represent a majority in unionism. So when Edwin Poots says that it's damaging to every individual in Northern Ireland, that is a lie. Many businesses are suffering because of the consequences of Brexit. That this is something that is a consequence of Brexit. The protocol is a consequence of Brexit. If there was no Brexit, there would be no protocol. The DUP campaigned for Brexit. The DUP voted for Brexit and they continue to support Brexit. So when Edwin Poots says that it's damaging to every individual, instead what he means it's damaging to his party.
What does the EU plan to do about that?
Well, first of all, I don't think those statements have adherence to reality. The EU...
The DUP do not operate within reality.
Is politically, financially and emotionally, I would say, committed to peace and prosperity for everybody in Northern Ireland. And we've been doing that for a number of years. We were supporters of the Good Friday Belfast Agreement.
Yes, 100%. The EU supported the Good Friday Agreement. Do you know who did not support the Good Friday Agreement? The DUP. So the DUP will claim to care about peace in Northern Ireland, but they did not support the Good Friday Agreement. And now they're attacking the EU for undermining peace in Northern Ireland when it's them that did not support the Good Friday Agreement and it's them that campaigned for Brexit.
But you will have seen what's happened on the streets of Northern Ireland, violence that has been ascribed to anger over how the protocol is being introduced and the way in which Northern Ireland is being treated differently from the rest of the UK. We've had the former DUP leader, Arlene Foster, saying there are now more checks from Great Britain into Northern Ireland than there are in Rotterdam. And that's something the EU is in control of.
Okay, before he responds, and unfortunately he didn't respond in the way I would have preferred, but this is what Boris Johnson agreed to. Like, if the DUP have a problem, then their problem is with Boris Johnson's government. What's the point in blaming the EU? Boris Johnson is the one who sold this deal. Boris Johnson is the one who went to Northern Ireland and told people in Northern Ireland there will be no border in the Irish Sea. Boris Johnson was denying there was a border in the Irish Sea even this year. But the DUP are attacking the European Union here. The European Union said, this is our agreement. British government, are you happy with that? The British government said, yes, we're delighted with this agreement. So how is it the EU's fault that the UK government did not explain the protocol, explain the deal, explain the withdrawal agreement to the people of Northern Ireland? It's not the EU's responsibility to inform the people of Northern Ireland who are part of the UK. It's not the EU's responsibility to explain the difficulties of Brexit to the people of Northern Ireland who are part of the UK. That is the British government's responsibility. And instead of actually informing businesses and instead of preparing during the transition period, what did the British government do instead? They told people in Northern Ireland there will be no problem. Everything will be okay. There may be a few bumps in the road, but everything will be fine. Don't be concerned about Brexit. Everything will be hunky-dory. And now, the people who believed them are attacking the EU.
Well, let me be clear also for your audience. the protocol is not the problem. Brexit created the problem in Northern Ireland. So
Brexit has happened. It's only the protocol which can be...
Brexit has happened. What the hell does that mean? Does she not understand that the protocol is part of Brexit? As I said before, if there was no Brexit, there would be no protocol. You can't blame the protocol because the protocol is the fire extinguisher against the fire. The protocol protects Northern Ireland, protects the Good Friday Agreement. Like, if Edwin Poots wants to replace the protocol, that's fine. If Boris Johnson wants to replace the protocol, that's fine. But first you have to have an alternative. But they don't have an alternative. They just want to throw the protocol in the bin. That's irresponsible. But then Brexit was irresponsibility.
Addressed, and it needs to be made to work more smoothly.
And the protocol is a joint endeavour of the UK and the European Union. It is British law, European law, international law. There is no alternative to the protocol, even though...
I love how calm this man is. I'm foaming at the mouth here. This man is extremely calm in dealing with this type of crap. He probably has to deal with this type of crap every day. He's a diplomat, so I could never be a diplomat. Boris Johnson sold Brexit to the public through a lie. He told them everything would be fine. Now, either Boris Johnson didn't understand Brexit, or Boris Johnson did understand Brexit, and he decided to lie about it. So which is it? Boris Johnson didn't understand the consequences of Brexit, or he lied about the consequences of Brexit. In either case, the responsibility falls on Boris Johnson.
Those, and you mentioned some, that criticize the protocol do not present an alternative which is compatible with the terms of Brexit. So protocol is the solution. We need to implement it, and we want to implement with pragmatism. But, you know, pragmatism requires trust, and trust requires respect and delivery on the commitments made. And that's what we're trying to do with our British friends. Joint decisions are needed, not unilateral measures, not a public discourse that raises unrealistic expectations. So,
and this is a very valid point, a very important point, actually. A public discussion that raises tensions, that raises unreasonable expectations. What the DUP are trying to push is, we're going to get rid of the protocol. But unfortunately, no one in the media is asking them or pushing them on an alternative. We know that the protocol is the only game in town. If somebody has an alternative, they need to present it. They can't just demand that the protocol is thrown away.
Well, we are down to work. My colleagues are meeting as we speak to try to find pragmatic solutions within the context and the framework created by Brexit. I believe, and
well, of course, and the Northern Ireland Protocol hasn't been fully implemented yet. Is there a chance that there could be a further extension of the grace period?
What is the point in extending the grace periods? Really, what is the point in kicking the can down the road? Remember, this is very important. The British government had, during the transition period, the time to prepare for Brexit, to inform businesses, to build the infrastructure necessary. The European Union on numerous occasions said, do you want to extend the transition period? Because maybe there's not enough time. The British government's response was, no, we're not going to extend the transition period. There is more than enough time to prepare for Brexit. They even put it into law to stop Parliament from extending the Brexit transition period. Now, the response is, let's extend the grace periods. Well, why didn't you extend the transition period if you were not prepared? At the end of the year, there was still a chance, although I think it had gone at that stage, but maybe there would, some political arm twisting could have actually extended the transition period a bit more, but that was not on the table. The British government's response to any extension to the transition period was, no, we don't need to do it. So how can you be asking about extending grace periods if you didn't want to extend the transition period? once again, this is just kicking the can down the road. If the infrastructure is not in place now, if the government departments are not up to speed, you can try and ask for extensions to these grace periods, but what's the point of that? The preparations should have taken place during the transition period.
That there is uncertain aspects of trade between Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
We should not anticipate. We are preparing, actively preparing important meetings that will take place in, let's say, around 2 weeks. I think we should concentrate in the next 2 weeks to find collectively, consensually between us and the UK, the right solutions. We need to have the right atmosphere as well, because these are complex issues. And again, there are no alternatives. So we should focus in trying to find balanced and pragmatic solutions within the framework of the protocol.
Okay,
So once again, you have the adults in the room talking, the European Union saying, look, this is what you agreed to. This is what Boris Johnson signed up to. All we're doing is we're working within the agreement that Boris Johnson agreed to. We agreed to do our part. The British government are supposed to do their part. If the DUP have a problem with it, don't come to us. Boris Johnson represents you. Boris Johnson signed it on your behalf, not us. We didn't want any of this disaster. We didn't want Brexit. The European Union at every turn said Brexit is not something that we want, but we're going to respect the will of the British people. They wanted it, okay, we're going to go along with it. But you have to understand that when you leave, there are responsibilities. And the British government at the time said, yes, we understand that. We're going to sign on the dotted line and say, yes, we're going to respect these requirements. And now, there's even talk in the British government about undermining the protocol. So how is it that you can agree to something, you can campaign on it, the oven-ready deal, and then turn around in a very short period of time and say, no, we have a problem with it? The EU is not criticizing the protocol. The EU has not said the protocol is the problem, we have these issues with the protocol. Why is it only on one side there's a problem with the protocol? Just think about that. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?